What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Wire to Wire Sports. We got a great show for you here today. My name is Jason O'Neill. Again, this is my man Aubrey Gray.
How you doing?
We got a great list of topics running down everything from the AAU season and summer basketball all the way up to college and of course the pros. Let's get it in. So first up, we're talking AAU basketball. As we sit here today at the end of August, news has been blowing up about Andre Drummond going to UConn. Aubrey, what's really going on with Andre Drummond?
Well, the issue with Andre Drummond is that he was going to reclassify and actually do a fifth year at a prep school in Connecticut. But it's coming down to the fact that he's going to be the #1 pick in next year's draft. He's 6'10", he's 270 already. He's a dominant force inside on the elite high school level. So he'll be able to step into Connecticut with Jeremy Lamb and DeAndre Daniels from formerly of Taft out in Los Angeles to combine to probably have a team that will be able to get back to the Final Four, if not repeat that championship. So Andre Drummond is a major component and the #1 player probably coming into this college season, being that he's going to be entering his freshman season. So look out for definitely Andre Drummond on the scene on the UConn on the UConn roster, because he's a dominant player and a force in the middle.
So rounding out your top three, I'm assuming you're going to have Andre Drummond in there somewhere. Who else you got in the top three from the AAU season?
Well, from this AAU season, I have Andre Drummond sitting at the #1 spot. #2, because of the injury and the loss in the Adidas tournament in Las Vegas, is Shabazz Muhammad. And rounding out the top three is Isaiah Austin from Arlington Country Day, a center, 7'1", and he'll be attending Baylor in this season in high school. He'll be entering college next season. So those are your top three players of the AAU season.
What about the top overall team? Who really had what would we call the best summer?
I would say the best summer was had by BABC and Nerlens Noel, the big man from BABC. They did win the Nike Peach Jam. The only issue was the fact that they lost in the AAU National Super Showcase in Orlando. They did falter. I believe that was to Houston Hoops, if I'm not mistaken. They lost to them and actually another team, I believe Texas Pro, as well, who had Isaiah Austin. So that was their only time that they faltered, BABC, and they will hold my #1 ranking for this year's AAU season. Looking into next year, I'm going to go on a limb and say CIA of Canada and the young man Wiggins from Canada. Look out for them, because they really did a number at the AAU Super Showcase in the 16-year-old and under division, and they will be contending at the 17 and under level next year.
So moving on to college, but staying with the youngsters, we know that every year freshmen tend to play a real big role ever since this one and done rule has started. What do you think, who are the names that we need to look out for, the new faces, the diaper dandies?
Most definitely. I would say #1 would be, as we spoke about, Andre Drummond of Connecticut. #2 or 1B would be Austin Rivers from Winter Park, Florida, who's going to be attending Duke. A nice slashing guard with a pull-up jump shot that's already rivals some pros' jump shots. And #3, I'd say Anthony Davis, a 6'10" kid from the Chicago area, out of Perspectives in Chicago, and the kid, he's ready to come into Kentucky and really put his name on that program. He's probably going to do 2 years there, but he's definitely in my top three of those entering college freshmen for this season.
So moving on to the best college teams for next year, we normally see freshmen come in, be dominant right away. The last few years we've seen Durant, we've seen even Michael Beasley come in, have real stellar first years, and then go on to the pros. This last year was a little interesting. We had some of those first-year players come back. Harrison Barnes is one in North Carolina, Jared Sullinger at Ohio State. Terrence Jones is coming back to Kentucky. He was projected to be somewhat of a first-round pick when he was coming out of high school.
Right.
And then Jeremy Lamb, who I really like coming out of UConn. I think these teams are really going to provide sort of a mix between the established stars and then along with also these incoming freshmen. Aubrey, who do you think some of the top-tier teams are going to be?
So my top 4 teams coming into the college season, ranked #1, North Carolina. #2 would be Kentucky. #3, the national championship of last year, UConn. And #4 will be Ohio State.
So staying in college, but keeping in the news, lately, Miami's gotten into a little bit of trouble. Ohio State's football program and Jim Tressel, Terrell Pryor has gotten into some trouble. Certain rules exist in the NCAA just almost seem laughable, and these actually were drawn to attention during these recent things brought to light. For instance, players can be provided breakfast for, and that breakfast can consist of bagels, nuts, and fruit. Now, to me, that doesn't even sound like a good breakfast, but they have further put limitations on it. And it's almost laughable to think that somebody actually wrote this down, but to provide cream cheese or butter, those things are written into the rules as a minor violation. And these are things that the NCAA really has no business even policing. Why even worry about those things? When people are getting the kind of illicit benefits they were getting at the University of Miami, why even worry about cream cheese or jam? So, what can we do, Aubrey, or what ideas will we have for the NCAA to kind of get these ideas off the book and move in a more positive direction?
Well, the bottom line with the NC2A is that there's millions upon billions of dollars coming in TV contract advertising, dollars that are being made from NCAA tournaments, from alumni associations, but the players are always the last one to reap any benefits. But the bottom line is this: a player gets a 4-year scholarship to attend a university. After that, they're able to go get a job in society. So you've got your education, and that's what money was there for you. Now, everybody needs a little extra money on the side, whether that's to get a pizza, to get a haircut, normal things that happen in life, and everybody doesn't always have those parents that are able to provide that to the students. I do believe that students should receive stipends of some sort. But that needs to be managed very critically, and something that we need to take under consideration because of these weird, different things that keep on coming up about boosters and involvement with, you know, illicit benefits, as we like to call them. Players wouldn't take those if they just had pizza money, if they just had money to be able to go get a haircut, money to be able to take a girl out on a Friday night, things that normal teens do every day and we take for granted. That's my stance.
Well, I in some ways agree with Aubrey here, but for the most part, I don't believe a stipend should come from a university or NCAA-based organization. I don't believe that they're already providing the scholarship. I don't think they need to provide anything extra, because then you got to provide it across the board. And who's to say what's more valuable? Because obviously, certain revenue sports like football and basketball generate more money than, you know, lacrosse and soccer and things of that nature. I would be more in favor of allowing these teens to go out and get money on their own, whatever the market would bear. For instance, if you're able to make money through EA Sports using your likeness in a video game, go ahead and get money. If you were in the film program at a school, not only would you be able to contact DreamWorks and elicit money to try and help you do a student film, the head of your film department would actually help you in those negotiations. They would help you send letters. They would field phone calls from DreamWorks. Those things to get money for student films, to get things that would help you further your craft, which is all really these guys are trying to do, is get to the pros. Whatever they're buying in college, a lot of it is to have fun, but a lot of it is to make sure that they're ready for their chosen profession, which they hope will be sports. So, final on Wire to Wire Sports, we always touch on the professional level, of course. And it is September, it's football season, you know, the clanging of helmets is in the air. But, you know, a couple of hoop heads like myself and Aubrey, we're going to discuss the NBA lockout with our last topic here today. More specifically, our idea for contraction and how this might help alleviate some of the financial restraints that have been put upon the NBA and the NBA owners in this current economic climate. Aubrey, who do you feel should be getting contracted if that were to be a benefit?
I think contraction would happen to probably most certainly the Sacramento Kings. Last year, their finagling with the community in Sacramento about a new arena that will not be built with community money really has driven people to not attend the games at all. So really you have roughly about 7,000 to 12,000 people attending games. You also have a franchise in New Orleans who is probably the second franchise that could be contracted. I love New Orleans, it's my city, very spirited city, but from a financial standpoint just can't hold up a viable franchise right now in this economy. Jay, what franchises would you look at as being two that possibly could be contracted?
So, and I would agree that contraction is something that would definitely help the NBA. I think there's far too many players. I think some of those players just don't even belong in the NBA, and I'm going to hold back on naming names, even though that's my favorite thing to do. But I would definitely say Toronto. Toronto is one. I don't think that being that far north, it's just not conducive for travel. I don't think they get a lot of fan support anyway. And then I would also agree with the assessment that New Orleans needs to go ahead and get contracted. Their ownership situation being what it is, also basically the climate. If New Orleans is a football town, they're going to support secondary sports, but they will always be secondary sports in those cities. Whereas if you look at even a city like Dallas, they really came out and supported the Mavericks, and everybody knows Dallas and Texas, that's all football country. So I would definitely say New Orleans and Toronto, those would be two teams that if we just take them out of the league, we could actually have a better product. It would be better financially, I think, for all involved if you're actually going to start doing revenue sharing, to not have to share revenue with as many teams as well. So I think that could definitely assist in these lockout negotiations and maybe getting them back on the playing court sooner rather than later. Well, that's our list of debate topics here today. Thanks for joining us. As always, I'm Jason O'Neill from my man Aubrey Gray. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.